Uh, Stephanie is going to keep track of the questions online, and there should be a way to enter questions given the link that was in the invite, correct?
There's a Google form linked in the description of the YouTube page, and then if you're on the Mesa Live page, it's also linked there.
Okay. And I don't intend to talk for an hour and a half, so I'm sure there's going to be time for quite a few questions at the end. But I'm very excited to be here today and to be able to provide some updates regarding academic affairs and spend most of the time talking about our priorities as we move into this new academic year. It's very exciting to be starting a new year here at Mesa. Going through a first year for any administrator is challenging because we don't know the culture or rhythm of the college. So having gone through all of your celebrations, your the way you do things has really helped bring in this new year and be able to focus on some priorities that we really want to move forward on. So to start, we are not moving forward.
Well, we'll try again next year.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. I can't get the slides to advance. Do we have a timeout? Exit again.
Just that right one.
That's what I did. Okay, thank you. So I will provide some brief updates, and then, as I said, spend most of the time talking about our priorities for this coming year. We've aligned our priorities with the MCC strategic plan. If you recall, we have a one-year 25-26 bridge plan in which the strategies, there are 4 strategies: student outreach and success, economic resources and sustainability, a cohesive identity, and organizational talent. And I'll be breaking those down further as to how they relate to academic affairs. First, some celebrations. I mentioned this on Friday at the welcome, but we're delighted to have 5 new residential faculty with us at the start of this new year. Zlatan Mamela in Administration of Justice. He goes by the name Z. Adriana Diaz in Technical Theater. Rachel McClellan, Data Analytics and Programming. Eileen Hawkins in Nursing, and Janelle Virch in Construction Management. All except for Rachel were OYOs last year, and Rachel has been an adjunct for us. So we're so pleased that they have joined us and really contribute to the academic excellence of our faculty. Yeah. We have 3 faculty members stepping into one-year-only positions, and 10 are returning in one-year-only positions. We have 56 new adjunct faculty. The deans and I and the president had an opportunity to meet many of them on Saturday morning at the adjunct orientation. And they are a very talented, diverse group of individuals, and we're so happy they've come to MCC. We now have a total of 298 full-time faculty and 891 adjunct faculty serving our students. And also celebrating our newly appointed faculty. These faculty received a notification in May that they have completed the PAR process and are now appointed residential faculty. Let's give them congratulations. This really signals a great amount of work on their time and commitment from the college as well to ensuring that they have all the tools and resources they need to be successful. So we have Michael Dorbitsky in welding, Janice Hester in physical science, Jose Miguel Gasper in agriculture, Angel Luna in art, Katie Nibel in life science, Sophia O'Brien in English, Jan Pitts in mathematics, Darren Shryock in music, who has stepped into the role of chair, and Kimberly Zytek in dental hygiene. Most of them have already engaged in tremendous ways at the college during their last 5 years. And also a few notes of celebration and congratulations this is just a highlight of some things that have happened over the summer, even over the past few weeks. With regard to grants and workforce development funding, we learned on Friday that MCC had been awarded $1 million to go towards the expansion of the TC50 building, something that those faculty have long awaited for. This will support the automotive and manufacturing programs. We do need to raise more funds to totally develop that space. We also learned on Friday that our faculty in undergraduate research, especially Francesco DiMartini, has been awarded in collaboration with several other colleges in Maricopa, it's almost a $1.4 million grant to support course-based undergraduate research, which we've been already engaging in, but this is a wonderful boost to be able to expand that opportunity for even more students. So congratulations to them. Our construction faculty, especially David Kane and Department Chair Bryce Bond, have extended their partnership with the Arizona Department of Transportation, a very important partnership, by procuring even more scholarship dollars for our students in this coming year. This fall, our nursing program will be delivering their LPN program at Onvita Medical Center in Yuma. They have been asked to do this, and the Arizona Board of Nursing reached out to them because of the success of our programs. This was a real need in that part of the state, and the nearby community college was unable, it currently doesn't have an LPN program, so we're stepping in until they fully develop an LPN program. And this is a grant-funded program to meet a workforce need. We have also learned that our nursing expansion grant received additional dollars for year 4, which will allow them to continue to invest in our nursing programs. And I want to highlight a partnership that occurred over the summer. This was funded by our Sendus grant. There was a very interesting collaboration between our math faculty and those faculty from economics and from chemistry. In those courses, there's quite a bit of math, and the faculty, the economics faculty and the chemistry faculty, partnered with the math faculty to come up with some just-in-time modules to assist student success and promote student success. So we're excited about how those modules will work. Having taught chemistry many times, I know that the first semester of general chemistry is full of math, and that's exactly what causes the students to stumble more so than the chemistry. So we're really pleased about this, and we look forward to seeing the results. And you'll notice I called it Sendus 1 because we submitted a proposal for another Title V grant that we're calling Sendus 2. We hope to hear this fall whether we're awarded the funding. It's another $3 million for 5 years, and it will support the expansion of some of the student success programs that we've put into place and that have shown great promise. Our Beauty and Wellness program has partnered with Northern Arizona University to develop a 90-30 transfer pathway. This allows those students to earn their bachelor's degree in strategic leadership from NAU. And this was the first cohort of students moving into that pathway. This is a really exciting opportunity for students that started probably as a beautician, came here to get an associate degree in beauty and wellness, and now can pursue a bachelor's degree. So we're really excited about that. We celebrated in May the graduation of our first LPN cohort, and I'm very pleased, just learned yesterday from Dean Boyce, that these students currently have a 93% pass rates on their credentialing exam. And so we continue to hopefully expand our offerings in LPN. In fact, we have a group looking at opportunities for funding to expand our LPN program. Again, a real need in the state. We're also launching the Applied Behavioral Health Certificate Program. This will allow students, it's a certificate program, it will start in October, and the curriculum had been developed 2 years ago, but this is the first fall we're offering it, and this is in response to a real need for mental health technicians, behavioral health technicians. So again, we're excited about what this program will do for our students and also how it will meet a workforce need. And then we're also excited about our current bachelor's degree programs and what the opportunities they're providing for students. We celebrated our inaugural class of graduates from the Early Childhood Education Dual Language Program. And we expect, I learned yesterday, we expect about 40 graduates in data analytics and programming in this spring. So they are doing well. And our faculty have much to be proud of. So I'm going to give a budget update, and Rob is here in the front row in case he needs to correct me on anything. But it's very pertinent to academic affairs, as you'll hear VP Budak say often. We are the largest cost center for the college, so we play an important role. And of course, we're the largest cost center because we actually do the business of providing education to students. So our budget this year is less than it was last year, according to the new budget allocation model. It's about $100 million, approximately $1.5 million less than what we had last year. We expect that it will continue to decrease because that's what the budget allocation model predicts, about a $1.5 to $2 million decrease each year for 5 years. And so we estimate next year it'll be about $109 million. The good news is, if you recall, all last year, all you heard about was our budget crisis, the budget deficit, $3.5 million. As we started the year last year in a session like this, everyone was coming to grips with the fact that we had to find $3.5 million in that current year budget because we had overspent it. And we were expected by the district to pay it back at the end of the academic year. So we don't have the final numbers. It'll take a while for all of the expenses to be taken out of the last year's budget and all the dust to settle. We know we have some carryover, unless somehow we lose it all, but we have some carryover. We did well. We saved some of that $3.5 million. And the good news is that because of the diligence of the college and the efforts that were made, district is allowing us to keep that money going into this coming year, which will really help because, remember, we've been cut $1.5 million. So we are excited about this, and as the year goes on, we'll hear more about how much carryover that is. Keep in mind, it's one-time funding. It's money we saved from last year that we thought we had to pay back, but it will help provide a cushion for us as we go through this year. Unlike last year, we had absolutely no cushion. Part of the reason I'm bringing this up is because those of you in academic affairs were well aware of all the discussions we had about adjunct faculty costs. And before I go to that slide, I just want to, again, emphasize that the reason we talk about adjunct faculty costs is because other than full-time faculty in the academic affairs budget, that's the largest chunk. It was $14 million in 2023, 2024. And as we started last year, we really didn't have a budget that we knew of. We just knew we had to spend less than $14 million. And it the costs of our adjunct faculty had been rising over the previous few years, despite an enrollment decline after COVID. So it was one area where we had some room to look at carefully and make some shifts. So thanks to our strategic scheduling task force, which met a number of times last year, looking at much data regard to the sessions, the 16-week, 14-week, and 8-week sessions, our summer and winter sessions, to try to understand the student demographic, the student demand, what the students' intentions were in taking those courses. We tried to determine whether winter and summer was helping students progress. And with the goal of trying to maintain or continue to increase enrollment, but decrease the adjunct budget costs. And when I say adjunct, I mean both part-time faculty and residential overload. We were able at the end of the year, and I want to call out Jen Stroops because she was instrumental in this, as well as all the chairs. We were able to save $2.3 million, which is really considerable. And you'll note that our enrollment is higher this fall than it was last fall. So we haven't lost students. As we move into this next year, though, notice that last year we spent $12.1 million in adjuncts, down from $14 million the year before. Our budget this year, the budget we submitted to Ginger, has an adjunct budget of $11.5 million. We're going to have to stay within that budget unless, as we monitor as the year goes on, unless we have funding from other sources that we can put towards adjunct costs. So what we did, Jen and I calculated what a budget would be broken down by the sessions that we offer. And so the next slide shows us, and this is based on historical percentages, how much of the adjunct budget did we use for each session, fall, winter, and summer, fall, spring, and summer. And so based on a look at fall 2025, based on previous years, we used about half of our adjunct budget in the fall semester. And that's pretty normal for a college. You always use more in the fall than you do in the spring. And so of our $11.5 million, we actually have about $5.7 million of budget allocated for the fall semester. In real time, again, thanks to Jen Stroops, we have, at this point, spent, well, I didn't mean to do that. We, at this point, spent $4.8 million. So we're actually a little under budget as of today. Now, that number will change dramatically over the next few days because this is only counting faculty who are connected to classes. And so especially some of our later sessions, we may not have faculty assigned to the courses. But this is good news because as we closely monitor this, we can perhaps, the biggest pain point last year for us was summer session. We really had to cut back on summer session because we, frankly, were running out of money. And so we capped it at $1 million. What we would like to do is be able to free up some of this budget to put towards summer offerings because we would like to offer more summer classes than we did this previous summer. But we're in a good place. We're monitoring this very carefully, and we'll be able to, in the past, we have not known our costs until well after the semester has started. So this is kind of operating blind. Now we know exactly where we're at. Okay, so moving forward on what are priorities within academic affairs this year, and certainly we don't operate in a silo. We are very interwoven with student affairs, and I'm excited about the work that they'll be doing this year in their reorganization to put into place practices and systems that will enhance student success. But in academic affairs, there's lots we can do. We will be, and I'm going to touch on each of these in future slides, but we're going to be identifying and designing implementation strategies for student success and retention. We want to do more with our online programs, and so we will be putting together an e-learning committee, and I will explain more about that. We're continuing our assessment work, which really last year, despite my concern as I came and started in the fall semester, honestly, I was concerned about whether our assessment work would pass the HLC approval. And actually, we were complimented on our assessment work. Many thanks to Dennis and his group, but also Meta Alsobrook, who joined us in November. We'll continue to, the district came out with a dashboard that allows us to look closely at our baccalaureate programs. So we'll be monitoring our baccalaureate programs. We're excited about partnering with student affairs, and we've started some discussion this summer to re-envision the Center for Community and Civic Engagement as a center for experiential learning. And so we'll be putting together a stakeholder committee to envision what that might look like and what kind of programs that umbrella might cover. And then the Chancellor has put forth a vision about really fostering a college-going behavior in K-12 students. We already do a lot with our neighboring schools, but we're looking at ways within academic affairs and across the college we can partner more deeply with some of our high schools. With regard to economic resources and sustainability, we started last year doing an academic portfolio review. We'll continue that work. We are implementing and fully embracing Ed Astra. I'll talk more about that as a student success tool, not just scheduling software. We'll certainly expand and strengthen our industry and community partnerships. We have some amazing partnerships, and most recently we've been having some continuing conversations with Boeing. We already have a partnership with Boeing, but they're exploring another partnership with us. More to come on this next one. It's a major initiative for academic affairs, but we are undertaking a academic affairs department reorganization. And this is a collaboration between Faculty Senate and my office in determining what the process will be. We, as I mentioned, will be aligning, and we're already doing so, aligning our planning to MCC's strategic plan and the MCCD framework. And looking at how we can support our faculty and staff in relevant, and chairs in relevant and timely professional development opportunities. So I'm going to break this down a bit and spend some time on each one. And again, I'm not going to talk for an hour and a half. But I am going to spend some time talking about this particular framework, which I've introduced a few times now in different groups. This is a framework that allows us to look at how students are progressing in their academic journey at MCC. And it also allows us to identify, take a look at data at each phase of the journey and see where we are and identify ways in which we might improve student momentum. That is, keeping them moving forward, gaining credits, and completing. As you can imagine, we lose students at every phase here. The connection, the entry, we're losing them before they even get here. We're losing them after first semester. We're losing them after the first year. So we want to determine how can we keep them here and how can we help them be successful. So this slide is just showing some of the data points that we can collect at each step of the journey. And so you can see that the lost momentum framework also aligns with the guided pathways framework of getting on the path and staying on the path, ensuring students are learning. So I'm not going to go over all the words on this slide because my next slide goes into a lot more detail on this, but we're looking at data such as FAFSA completion rates, the number of students that actually enroll after applying. We're looking at their how well they do in math and English and whether they complete those gateway courses in their first year. We're looking at their credit accumulation, their retention, and then what happens to them after they graduate. If they're going into the workforce, what kind of jobs are they getting? Are we preparing them for well-paying jobs? If they're transferring, how well are they doing after they transfer? Are they graduating from the baccalaureate institutions we're sending them to? So in more detail on the next slide, this is very busy, and I'm going to spend some time with this, but I think it's important to do. And I want to, again, Dennis, I saw you here before. I want to give credit to our institutional research folks for developing a dashboard that allows us to really explore this data in multiple ways. And so they've worked on that throughout the summer, and we are currently using it, and we'll be sharing more information about it. But when we look to see the initial connection of students to the college, one of the areas that, as I started looking at this data, stood out to me is our low rate of FAFSA completion. So students, when we looked at students who came in 2024, 2025, only a quarter of them had actually completed their FAFSA prior to matriculation. And this is a critically important first step because the students, for several reasons, of course, this provides students with resources that they need and potentially resources that would enable them to be even more full-time than part-time. It's also critically important for the college because nationally, the federal government uses Pell eligibility for many grant applications as to as a proxy really for the economic status of our students. So when you have low Pell eligibility, and we have low Pell eligibility because students aren't completing it, if you have low Pell eligibility, oftentimes you cannot apply for certain grants. Students also frequently need their FAFSA completed in order to apply for scholarships. If they don't have it completed, that door is closed in multiple ways. So nationally, the rate for FAFSA completion is about 57%. I'll show you some slides in a few moments. Arizona overall ranks very low in the country for FAFSA completion, but this is a metric we can move, right? And if as we move forward, we are benefiting students. The percentage of students who are admitted and finally enroll has been declining since COVID. And so prior to COVID, we had about a 41% conversion rate. The average across the nation is somewhere between it's hard to pin down exactly for community college, somewhere between 45 and 50. So it's certainly not 100%, right? But currently our yield is about 31%. And so if there's any way we can work with the students who have already applied and said they wanted to come to Mesa to actually help them complete the process of filling out the application, doing all the paperwork that they need, and enrolling in classes, we can increase that yield. And I have some thoughts for faculty on this later on. But one of the most important things, I'll say it here, is trying to make early connections with these students. And so we're working with student affairs to see if we can earlier, if faculty can connect earlier with these students, because the students really respond to faculty sharing their excitement about their programs. We've been dependent on the under age 25 group, primarily the high school graduation population, for our enrollment. And as you know, that the numbers in that age group are declining nationally. So if we want to maintain our enrollment, we're going to have to increase the yield of high school students that we get at MCC and look at other enrollment pipelines. Where are the rest of our students going to come from? And so one group that I think we can do a better job serving is our adult learners. There are many adults in the Mesa area who have some college credit but no degree. There are many who want to upskill or gain new skills. So we will be looking closely at that. When we move on to entry, the two major courses that students struggle with but must take as a basis for all of the degree programs are math and English. And we know across the nation students are struggling in both of these areas since COVID, but even more so in math. In looking at this data, we also discovered that students aren't actually even enrolling in math in their first semester, and a lot of them aren't enrolling in English. So we have to get them in the course, and then we have to ensure that they are successful. And I'm excited about some of the work that the math faculty are already doing in looking at ways to intervene to support the success of math students in particular. One of the things they're doing currently is we were provided a list by IR of all the students who had taken math and failed or withdrew 2 or more times. There were over 300 last year in that category, and the math faculty are studying that data and determining what they can do. We need to figure out ways to intervene before students keep taking the course over and over again or give up, right? With regard to retention, our retention from fall to spring is lower than national, but or peer, I'll say peer institutions. But there's a big difference, and we'll highlight this later, between full and part-time students. So part of the issue is that these are degree-seeking students. We have a huge part-time population, and so those students do come and go, and the retention rate for part-time students is much lower than for full-time students. When we're talking about progress, again, we're looking at how many students in the first year came back the second year, and you've heard Dr. Hollins talk a lot about this. It's an area that we're all given a great deal of thought to. Again, we want to find ways that we can begin to move the needle on this and ensure that students are coming back for their second year. Credit momentum means the amount of credits that students have actually completed in a given year. I'm looking at credit momentum per year. And if we look at our full-time students, we're looking at have they completed 24 credits in 1 year. Less than half of our students who are full-time are actually completing the load that they signed up for. They're either withdrawing or failing. So this, again, is an area that we can improve upon. Part-time students fare even worse. We're only measuring, did they complete 12 credits a year? Now, some of our part-time students maybe had no intention of completing 12 credits. Maybe they were only going to complete 6. But only a third of them actually complete 12 credits. And we know that although some of our students have to go full-time or have to go part-time, as soon as they enroll part-time and spread out the number of years they're here, there's more loss points. There's more potential things to come up in their life that will impede their progress. So if we can encourage students even take one more course than they're currently taking. And again, if we can provide funding with the FAFSA completion, the completion of the FAFSA application, we may be able to do that. And then with regard to completion, we have a fairly low, in fact, we had to respond to HLC about why our 3-year completion rate was so low. And it's really connected to the fact that a lot of our students transfer before completing, and a lot of our students are part-time. But our peer group has a 33.8% completion in 3 years, and we have a 15.2%. So we have room to improve, and we are looking at ways that we can improve. We do find that we have, and even looking at that list I pulled of math repeaters, there are a lot of students on there that had over 60 credits and had not completed their math. So we do have a group of students who have completed everything they need except for math to get their degree. And again, that's not just us, that's in community colleges nationally. And we have far too many students transferring before they earn a credential. We're going to look at that more closely to understand why. We know that Arizona State University is very interested in our students. We're actually, IR is helping us look at data on the long-term results of students who move from MCC to Arizona State University. About 85% of our students who transfer go to Arizona State. So that gives us a good benchmark. We're not sure if they graduate. We have data on how they do in their first semester, but we don't have data on how well they're graduating in 6 years, for example, after they start here. And the question I'm very interested in is, because in other states I've worked, you can clearly see that students who earn a degree are far more successful in graduating from their baccalaureate program. We don't have that data on hand right now for us and Arizona State University, so I'm interested in that, and certainly Dennis's area is helping us with that. But we've talked about perhaps conducting a survey. Why are they leaving? It costs more. There's less personalized attention. The classes are big. Why are they leaving? Is it that our courses aren't transferring as well? So we want to look at all this and answer those questions. These data points just give us more questions to ask, right? They're a point that will allow us to see how we're doing and then allows us to explore more fully. So I am going to look more closely next at the FAFSA completion rate, because I think this is very interesting and a big area for us to make some shift in. This is, Arizona has made progress this past year. Arizona has typically been 48th or 49th out of 51 states and districts, District of Columbia. We are now doing better. There's a 25% increase over last year in FAFSA completion rates in Arizona, so that is good news. So it's currently about 46%. The national average is 57%. And you can see on this next slide, this is Arizona in the red bar. This is this year's cycle. Last year, we were third from the bottom. So we are moving up, but we want to invest in our local high schools and work with those students to ensure that they're completing their FAFSA. And so how, our student affairs folks are trained in this. How can we contribute? How can we help within academic affairs? Just some local data. Mesa public schools, their FAFSA completion rate is even below the state average at 43%. Aha, that's our area, right? What can we do in Mesa public schools to support students in finishing their FAFSA before they graduate? It won't, and it'll help them certainly in coming to us. It'll help them wherever they want to go. And we know that I think Dr. Hollins has quoted, about 85% of the students who work with a college to complete their FAFSA actually come to that college. So we already have faculty visiting high schools, and if we can work with our student services area to ensure that we have admissions and financial aid people on those visits where appropriate, right? Perhaps we can work with students that way. In one of our summer retreats, the idea of a FAFSA completion team was brought up, where we would have faculty volunteer as service to train with student affairs to visit high schools to help them complete their FAFSA. So we're exploring ways that we can partner with student affairs and provide more trained people to help students with this process. I'm coming back to retention data for just a moment, just to point out the stark difference, really, between full-time and part-time student retention. So overall, our retention rate in fall 2024 for students that's for students who started in 2023, coming back 2024, is 67.3%. But that's an average of our full and part-time students. Look at our full-time students. 90% of them are retained from fall to spring, but a little more than half are for part-time. And we see the same thing in fall-to-fall retention. So our fall-to-fall retention is, for full-time students, is not too far off the national average, but our part-time retention from fall to fall is quite low. So what are some of the strategies that, I'm going to just jump to this for a minute, and then I'll come back to that other slide. What can we do as faculty in academic affairs to support student momentum, their movement through their academic journey? Excuse me. Engagement with students. You all know how much students appreciate when you recognize them, when you encourage them, when you offer assistance, when you review something with them. That engagement is so important to students. You're the ones that see the students the most. So, you know, we've talked about this in other sessions, and you've heard it from the deans and chairs. Please engage with your students. Send introductory messages as we start the semester, welcoming them to the class. Some of them don't feel like they belong in class. Make sure that you're aware of the resources we have on campus. So many resources, and many of them not used as much as we want them to be used. So make sure that you have that information on your syllabus, and that if you see a student struggling, connect them to a resource. If you don't know what resource to connect them to, reach out to your chair. Communicate regularly with them. If a student misses a class or is missing assignments, a simple message to them, whether it is an email, a phone call, means a lot and may get them back and engaged in your class. And if you have any concerns at all about a student, I urge you to connect with your chairperson early. We have students, of course, who are facing many, many challenges that have nothing to do with your class. And they often need other supports. And so the behavior they exhibit in class may seem disruptive or disrespectful, but it's coming out of a place of need, typically, that they have. I encourage you to, if you haven't used Dropout Detective, to use that as a tool to recognize those students who are at risk of dropping out. Some departments have fully embraced it and have seen an increase in retention. Our curriculum has a lot to do with student success and retention too. We are undertaking a closer look at course success to see which courses are students struggling with, where are they struggling, and how can we support them. Our pathways, ensuring that our pathways are clear. We have some work to do on our pathway maps to clarify the pathway for students, which is something that would help our students. And then identify and remedy program bottlenecks where we see students losing in a large amount. I'll give an example because I think our biology faculty did this study last year as part of their program review. They were requiring a math course that is of a higher level than what typically is required in a biology degree. And they noticed that the pass rate in that biology course was low, really contributing to a loss of students. That's a program bottleneck, right? So they are discussing this with their instructional council to see if they can put in a more appropriate math class that will still enable students to transfer and earn a biology degree, but won't hinder them from progress. I encourage you to experiment with new pedagogy and pedagogical tools. Always, it's something that can be fun. It's something that doesn't always work, but trying new pedagogies is a way of continually refreshing your course and making it interesting. And our course scheduling, we are really looking at how we schedule classes. Are we creating conflicts for students? Are we shutting them out of courses that they are required to take? Again, these are ways we can help students improve their momentum along their pathways. So what I've just done is go through a set of strategies, data points and strategies that will allow us to make improvements at a number of junctures on this pathway. And you can see how quickly that could multiply. If we're able to get more students to finish their FAFSA, maybe they can be, a few more can be full-time. Maybe they can get other scholarships. If we can boost the enrollment in math and English in their first year, maybe they can complete it in their first year. If we are able to connect with students in a more productive way, maybe they'll be retained from one semester to another. So this is something that in academic affairs we'll be working closely on as the semester progresses. One way that we're doing this, and Dean Voss has been doing this with his department for a number of years, for several years, and thanks to Marie Savage, who's organized course success data for all of the departments, we're looking at course pass rates. And this is data that's readily available currently from our Get Data dashboards. And this is an example. I've removed the course names so that we're not focusing on a particular department, but this is an example from Dean Voss's area of, I'll look at course one for a moment. In 22-23, the pass rate was 60%, and so it was highlighted as something to pay attention to. It rose to 63 and 68% in the following semesters, and in spring 2025, it actually exceeded the benchmark. We're looking at any class below 70%. And the way Dean Voss worked with his chairs and faculty was just pointed it out, gave them the data, and asked them to identify a course lead to look at what the problem is, to understand more deeply. Maybe more research has to be done on where students are struggling. Maybe there's some embedded tutor support that is necessary. Maybe there's a prerequisite course that we need to consider. In one case here, I believe it was in this course 2, they identified that, or no, maybe it was this one, they identified the need for a more consistent Canvas template for their courses and really implemented that across the courses in their program and switched up some pedagogical techniques, and that caused a dramatic improvement. So what we're asking each dean to work with their chairs, to work with their faculty. We're not going to collect action plans or dictate certain strategies. We're pointing it out just for faculty to take a look at to see if they can identify what they might do to increase that course pass rate. We know that some courses historically have very low pass rates, and I'll use math as an example. And it's the pass rate itself is not the focus as much as it is improving that pass rate while maintaining the rigor of the class. Okay, switching to another topic now. If you recall, one of those, one of the focus areas for us this year is developing processes for identifying, supporting students who are seeking fully online programs, especially thinking about how we can provide flexible programming for adult learners. Adult learners are looking for flexibility and convenience. They're very focused on advancing their earnings, whether it's a skill set or a degree, very focused. And they don't need the same support services that our 18-year-olds need. Clubs are not always something that adult learners have time for. Even advisement has to be tailored a little bit differently. They often need transcript evaluation. So thinking about support services that are really meet the needs of the adult learner. So we're forming an e-learning committee that really has it's going to have two subcommittees. One is going to have stakeholders from across the college because this involves student affairs, marketing, enrollment management, to look at online program, quality online program management. Right now, we don't know what students want to complete a fully online program. We know all the data we have is who is currently taking fully online courses, but we don't know if that was intentional, if they want to complete their degree program. So we need a way of identifying students as they're walking in the door who want to complete online programs and ensuring that they have an online course that meets their needs in successive semesters. So this group will help to identify, what programs should we concentrate on? Where is the need greatest? What would best serve adult students? How can we put in some of this infrastructure to support them? We also will have a group of primarily faculty working on the continual improvement of online courses. And I'm excited about that. There had been an e-learning committee a couple years ago, and so we're refreshing that. And so more information coming. Moving to academic assessment, we have a lot to celebrate from last year, and I'm looking around and seeing many DACs in the room. You did tremendous work last year, and thank you to the chairs for supporting this work. So last year, it was only year 2 of the department assessment coordinators, and they did an amazing job of leading assessment of program learning outcomes in their department. As we move into this year, we've increased the number of DACs, including departments that had not been involved with us before, like applied sciences, and departments that might have 7 or 8 or more programs. So we've tried to increase the number of DACs to support assessment across the college. We've convened an assessment leadership committee that involves leaders in assessment in multiple areas of the college so that we're sure to communicate in a consistent manner and also balance the amount of work we're asking faculty to do. We refined the program review process last year, and we're paying close attention to analyzing data on student success and developing action plans as a result of the program review. Dean Hall and I and Meta Alsobrook worked with the chairs and program directors who had undergone program review in 2023-2024 to help them develop meaningful action plans that they will update every year in between program review cycles. And the action plans are a result of the program review that they did and what they discovered. We also expanded our threshold review programs, and many of you participated in that, looking at certificates and programs with low enrollment, low student demand, low employer demand, and zero or low graduation. And we identified about 40 certificates and programs that will be sunset. This is important because our students have way too many choices sometimes, and it's overwhelming. And so especially if the certificate or degree is not meeting a significant need and is not attracting many students, we have to decide whether we're going to invest in it and help it grow, or whether to sunset it. And then last year we prepared the groundwork for the development of general education learning outcomes for the new AJAC, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. What are we doing this year, though, before I get to AJAC? We'll be continuing refining our program review process. This year, Dean Voss's area is undergoing program review. We're working with IR to develop a data template and data dictionary that will enable us to provide departments with data that's also partially analyzed. Because right now, there's a lot of data to look at, and some departments are better than others in making sense out of that data. We, of course, will continue assessing our program learning outcomes. Dr. Alsobrook is onboarding our new DACs, ensuring that they have the training that they need to be successful. That is a strategy that our DACs brought up as a need, a concern they had when there was DAC turnover. And our new general education will be implemented in fall 2026. That's just a year from now. That means students who are enrolling in spring 2026 will be in the new catalog and will be taking our new general education. As we go into the fall, I believe the instructional councils are finalizing any courses that they want to propose to belong to one of the 6 categories of Gen Ed. So by the end of the calendar year, we should have a completed set of courses that fit into each of the categories of the new general education. And we're going to spend the fall preparing ourselves to articulate learning outcomes at some point in the spring semester. We won't start assessment until next year. But if we step back and think about this for a moment, this is an amazing opportunity we have to own our general education program. And just, you know, sometimes there's confusion between Gen Ed and liberal arts and what we mean. These are the required courses that comprise about half the student's degree. In Maricopa, it's 32 to 35 credits. And they're the common component that is required for our students in all our AA and AS degrees. A partial Gen Ed is required for our AAS degrees. So this is an opportunity for us to ask ourselves, what do we think is most important for our students to learn? This is the common thread in our programs. And most of us see this as what actually defines a liberal arts education, right? This Gen Ed core is supposed to be designed to help our students be successful after college and in their career. And we hear from employers all the time. They want students who can communicate, who can work in teams, who can think critically, who can see diverse and appreciate diverse perspectives. They're not necessarily getting that in any one course. But if we are able to make a more coherent experience for our students in Gen Ed, we may be able to use this opportunity to really build in a general education program that we're very proud of. So the approved categories, or buckets I sometimes call them, are these ones on the right: written and oral communication, arts and humanities, quantitative reasoning, natural science, social and behavioral sciences, and the institutions of the Americas. Some of these buckets have over 100, many of them, a couple of them have over 100 courses, right? And especially if we look at social and behavioral sciences and art and humanities, these courses are coming from different departments, different disciplines. How are we going to come up with 2 to 3 learning outcomes for each bucket from 100 classes, right? So I've been thinking a lot and talking to many of you about this over the summer. And again, this is our opportunity to make our general education program transformative, especially at a time when we know the value of a liberal arts or gen ed component, and our students need that type of learning in whatever field they go to. So we want to leverage this process of articulating general education learning outcomes to reconceptualize the experience our students have here. We need to think about it as a core part of their program that's connected, not just isolated classes. So we want to ask ourselves, what are the ways of thinking and doing in our disciplines, and how can we make these more accessible to students? That is, for 100 social and behavioral science classes, what are some of the most critical elements for students to carry away from that course? What do we think students, we always talk about transfer of knowledge, right? So have we identified the elements that we really want them to transfer from that course to another course? What are the ways of thinking? What is that knowledge transfer? And how can we use this as a priority to really think about interdisciplinary connections? Again, we're going to convene multiple groups of faculty to have discussions about the core elements of learning in their courses, and how we can take something like a bucket like social and behavioral sciences with over 100 classes and distill down 2 to 3 learning outcomes. Obviously, we can't get to that point overnight, right? It has to be prefaced by many conversations among faculty, getting to the point where they know what those threshold concepts are in their course. So I'm excited about that, actually. It's a lot of work, but I think it gives us an amazing opportunity. We will continue to track our metrics. We do have, as I mentioned, we have a dashboard now that will allow us to look at student interest, student outcomes, demographic profile of students. We have, we were notified late, well, actually it was early in the summer, that Maricopa would support us moving forward with our exercise science bachelor's degree program that actually serves as a pre-doctorate in physical therapy program with AT Still. It would be an amazing opportunity for our students to go right from a baccalaureate program here right into a DPT program at AT Still. We're in the process, because it was, finally we were notified in early summer. We're in the process of vetting this through shared governance to ensure that MESA is ready to take this on. and has the infrastructure and support to ensure quality and success. I mentioned about the re-envisioning the Center for Community and Civic Engagement. We will be convening stakeholders. Dean Hall is going to be leading this. We're already starting to collect information on how other institutions organize their community-based service learning internships and other opportunities. We realize we have some internships and career services, some in the department. What can our Center for Civic and Community Engagement, how can they be supportive of students in internships? We want to strengthen the advisory council and ensure that we're assessing the learning in these experiences consistently and effectively. These are high-impact learning experiences for students, and I've been talking with Dr. Alsobrook about assessment of high-impact practices across the institution. These aren't the only ones. We have undergraduate research and other similar opportunities, but these are life-changing for students. And fostering this college-going behavior, we already have program faculty meeting with high school students, and we have seen the positive results of that. One of the things that Dean Axe and I have been talking about, especially as it relates to math, but I think also we could do this with English, we really want to deepen our collaboration with especially Mesa Public High Schools in ensuring that our curriculum is aligned so that students who are completing their requirements for their high school diploma are actually prepared to enter our math and English. And what else can we provide as a way of bridging the current gap that exists? And the chancellor has created a district college and the high school task force, and I was looking at the current membership. Dr. Megan Garvey and I are both in priority team 3, program pathway alignment. And so the goal, one of the chancellor's goals is to provide the opportunity for all high school students to be able to complete 12 credits prior to coming to one of the Maricopa community colleges. We want to ensure that those credits are meaningful, that move into a degree program, and we want to ensure that we're capturing the population of students who needs us most. Not the highest level students, but that middle group of students who actually would complete their degree with us. We'll continue our academic portfolio review. We started this last year. One of the areas that we want to look at more closely is to be able to, we have some very high cost but high need programs, and we need to understand more fully their cost and the revenue that they generate. For example, if you look at some of our biology, I'll use biology again, our Gen Bio classes are half full of nursing students. So there's revenue generated by some of these programs, but we need to understand this in a more nuanced way in order to plan for sustainable growth. Just to briefly point this out, one area we haven't paid much attention to, and it's a large chunk of our students, are our general programs. Our general AA program still has a lot of students in it. And our general AS and general studies program as well. We want to understand this more fully. You know, who are these students? Are these students that never come to advisement and are, you know, this is kind of the default program? How can we move them into a more meaningful path? What structure do we need to have in place in order to ensure there's no AA department, right? There's no general AA department. This program is not found anywhere. So how do we ensure that we're taking care of this program and these students? And at Astra, so we are leaders in the Ad Astra implementation, but we still have a long way to go. The data gets better and better as Ad Astra continues to ingest semesters and years of data. But we already have identified tools that are helping us. We get real-time flags of courses courses that we might need to add to the schedule or courses that we could consider canceling. These are just flags. Ad Astra isn't making the decision. The department is still making that decision because they have other information that is helpful to them. There are communication nudges that can occur directly within Ad Astra. Ad Astra can help us identify toxic course combinations. I love that word. What two courses paired together do students have a more likely chance of failing in? Course conflicts, this has been extremely illuminating. We had, I think, one course that wasn't enrolling, and it was a course that is required in a program, and when they looked at why it wasn't enrolling, it's because it conflicted directly, the time it was scheduled conflicted directly with one of the program requirements. We can drill down to the students who are enrolled in each class. We can see what their program of study is. And we have goals that we set for ourselves. One of them is, these are higher education scheduling index goals. We compare, our data is compared to peers. We have a prime time compression, meaning what percentage of classes are compressed into prime time or between 9 and 1 or 9 and 2. Our prime time compression last year was 129%. That's very compressed. Our goal is less than 30%. Well, that's HESI's goal, right? We're way beyond our peers in this area. So, and some of you if you're parenting students who have tried to complete a schedule, you know this. You know that they can't make a fully in-person schedule because the courses are all conflicting with each other. So this has given us some real-time tools. Brief word about academic affairs, the undertaking of the academic affairs department reorganization. This is the language from the college plan that charges the faculty senate president and myself to initiate and collaboratively develop the process. And the process had to include the reorganization charge, the committee structure and membership, the approval process, and the transition plan. We've been working on this throughout the summer, and we have all those elements that will be shared more in the weeks to come. But the goal here is to ensure that we have a sustainable academic structure moving forward. We hope to have a approval of a new structure by the end of the academic year, by the end of the calendar year, and begin to transition in the spring. You see the committee members on the side here. They are, they've set aside every Friday from 10 to 12 to work on this. We've gathered lots of tools and strategies, a great deal of data on course load, number of faculty, number of students, number of programs, and surveys will be sent out to gather more data from departments about other staffing, how many specialized spaces do you oversee, so that we have all that information for the committee. They will undergo IBN training. They will be meeting with departments to hear more about department needs. And we will be conducting town halls so that we keep getting feedback about how we're moving forward. To be very clear, this is not an effort to reduce costs. This is about using the existing funds, the existing monies, to ensure that we have enough support for academic program directors and chairs. The budgets that programs developed last year are still budgets that they'll need moving forward. Those budgets were not dependent on how they're organized into departments. The supervisory budget is dependent on faculty load, so is not dependent on what department you're organized in. And same with the academic affairs administrative support is dependent on faculty load. So we're not removing any funding, but we're looking at our organization in a holistic way. And then finally, I promised I would stop talking about 15 minutes ago. We are supporting faculty and chairs in their professional development. I wanted to highlight that Craig Jacobson and Jennifer Strickland have worked on a professional development opportunity for chairs. They're calling it the Chair Challenge. It is developed by them. It will be offered by them. It will provide some very, very important professional development for chairs and an opportunity for chairs to connect more frequently with each other. So I believe that is my last slide. And so I want to thank you for your time. And we do have some time for questions. All right. I was looking at Stephanie. She has the any of the questions online. If you have a question, because we do have people online, we will bring a microphone to you so that they can hear your question online. I know I gave a lot of information in a short amount of time, but I'd be happy to answer questions about anything I presented or anything else. Are there any online questions yet? No? It was all perfectly clear. Liz, yeah.
You got your steps in. It's all good. So I just have a quick question about the data that you showed us about like how we compare to national numbers in some of the various different areas. Did you look at how we compare to our sister colleges as well, or?
So in some areas I have, not in all areas. For example, FAFSA completion is low throughout Maricopa. We're not, we don't stand out as lower than the others. Same with some of the retention data and everything else. So we're not lower necessarily than other Maricopa colleges, but I still think, and some of what we are seeing are structural issues, right? So for example, we know that enrolling is very challenging in Maricopa. So yield of applicants to actual students is hampered by the Maricopa enrollment process, which they're working on. So some of this might illuminate structural issues across the district. Some of it we have the opportunity to make changes ourselves, right? Even despite the structural issues. I guess that's what I'm looking at, is where can we make changes despite the structural issues, despite lack of staffing, despite lack of money, where is it that we can invest and make changes? That's a good question, though. And actually, in future data, I can compare that more so that we know.
Dr. Russell, good morning, and thank you for your presentation. Very informative. A quick question regarding our enrollment. We have seen a spike in the fall, which is great. Can you explain a little bit causes of that spike?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, very interesting that I don't know, and maybe Dennis has some additional information. I'll answer that. The enrollment is higher throughout Maricopa, and it's a general trend for community colleges. We're coming back post-COVID still. So many community colleges nationally are seeing an increase in enrollment. It is what is exciting about our increase in enrollment when I looked more deeply. We have both new students and returning students who make up that increase. And the fact that we're bringing in a larger base of new students means that our returning student population is going to be bigger moving forward. So this is a bigger base to draw from. I'd like to think that it's our program quality, our outstanding faculty, our outstanding student affairs folks. But Dennis, do you have any other thoughts on the increase, the spike in enrollment?
Sure, a couple, not much more than you add. So if you don't know me, I'm Dennis Mitchell, the Associate VP of Institutional Effectiveness. This is our wonderful data team that Dr. Russell has given a shout out to many, many times. So yes, they don't like the attention. So what we're seeing also is some extent increased retention that Dr. Russell mentioned. We're seeing some students who either did not go to college during the pandemic time, finally coming back to that. And then in general, community college enrollment spikes have typically historically been tied to economic problems, and so we are seeing some of that as well as the economy is struggling in some areas and the job market is struggling in some areas. People come back to re-career, seek financial aid, or whatever they need. So we're seeing a combination of retention, students coming back from the pandemic that never went to college, and then some from the current economic conditions.
Yeah, very good question. Thanks, Dennis. No online questions, Stephanie? Okay. Oh, great.
Good morning, Dr. Russell.
Good morning.
I was just curious about the winter intercession. Is that ever coming back in the future, or is that completely sunset?
Okay, the question was very good. What about winter intercession? Will it come back in the future? So the first thing that concerns me about winter intercession, and the primary reason that I'm not considering it, is that the college, our winter intercession was offered in a way that really isn't compliant with HLC accreditation. So courses, when we offer classes, sessions, we really have to offer all the supports to our students. And because the session is abbreviated, about 3 weeks, and we're actually closed for 6 or 7 of those days, I think it was 30% of the time we're closed. The library's closed, the enrollment management center. So the only way the first thing we have to think about if we bring back winter intercession is how are we going to support how are we going to provide all that to the students? That means bringing people back on their breaks. So that's the biggest hurdle. When I first started looking at it, again, I was new. I was initially looking at cost, but as I looked further, it wasn't a terribly expensive session, but the biggest issue is the HLC accreditation. What I would like to do is invest more in summer as we move forward. Okay, do we have a question? No, Jamie.
Thank you, Dr. Russell, for the presentation, and I appreciate your looking at the online teaching and high-quality online teaching. I think there's quite a stigma with that, and has been, and then even I believe you know the facts better than I do, even from the district in terms of how they're looking at that.
Yeah.
But I will just say, in our experience with the bachelor's programs, we're having to put forth bachelor's programs that are non-duplicative. And we were really surprised to discover with the early childhood dual language degree that we had interest from students all over the state. We had some, attending from as far as Ajo. That particular student actually did drive up from time to time, and others from Payson, other areas. And so that combined with the fact that we were serving students that were working full-time during the day. So they wanted evening classes. They would come to campus, but they preferred for them to be online or live online. And so we really had to pivot in how we were offering. And I think because of that, we were able to put forth some very successful students. I mean, we had, of our first 15 graduates, some had been pursuing higher education for over 20 years.
Yeah.
And we're able to, take it over the finish line. So I just think I appreciate that that's something that you're looking at, and I think we can certainly put forth high quality,
Yes.
a high quality product and just kind of take that stigma away, because we found that was the reality for what our students needed.
Thank you, Jamie, for that comment. Keep in mind that, I agree with you, and keep in mind that adult learners are going someplace, right? And I believe that we have high quality, we have a low cost, we have individualized help even online. So their experience here could be so much better than what they're getting at University of Phoenix or Southern New Hampshire University. And in many cases, we're not aspiring to, this isn't a national effort to get enrollment nationally and internationally. We're actually trying to meet the need of our adult learners in our vicinity, some of who could come to campus if they really need something. But I do think it's exciting, and when you look at it the way Jamie brought up, there is a real need there. There are students who cannot do it otherwise. In my previous institution, when we looked at demographic data, we found out that a lot of, this was pre-COVID, a lot of our adult learners were single mothers, right? Trying to earn a degree and could only do it in the weekend, evening, or online, and chose online. Even if it wasn't a preferred modality for them, it was the only way they could pursue their education. Well, thank you for bringing that up. Okay, Stephanie is pointing time. Thank you all for your attention, and I look forward to continuing to work with you. Thank you.